everybody to Monday Morning Ask the Expert, or Monday afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Jannette Anderson of Bodacity and Bodacity's Action Heroes, and I'm here today with Linda Cain, who's coming to us from wonderful, warm California. I'm in freezing, chilly Alberta. Not happy about that at all, but I'm here. Anyways, I'm here with Linda, who is a member of our community and is also someone that I've worked with quite a bit extensively on events with Mastermind to Millions, JVology, some of the other various things that I'm involved in. And so know her from there. And I'm just going to read you her bio so that I can introduce her formally. She says optimistically, trying to open it. Okay. So Linda Cain is all about events. With her diverse background and experience, she's found a comfortable place to work and design events for her clients that meet an emotional experience for attendees, which is very important. We're going to talk about that. And profit margins for clients, also very important. So we got to talk about that too. But does not take on that hardcore event model mirrored by many in the industry. Her team is all about heart and relationship for the clients and the attendees. Linda's client list and Rolodex is a who's who in our live event industry. Linda especially loves to work closely with her clients to map out a full strategy and use the live event model as part of their marketing strategy, which is what today is all about, is how to use events to support your business growth. Linda loves and enjoys speaking about events whenever the opportunity arises, and particularly likes the site selection, contract negotiation process for her clients and helping them get clear on their budget from the get-go and sticking to that budget along the process, which I know never happens, or very, very seldom. Linda formed Blue Diamond Event Management to offer a variety of services to the live event industry clients, from full production of your live event, retreat, or mastermind program, to site selection and contract negotiation, vision and budgeting strategy sessions, on-site event management and support, event-ready assessment and coaching program specifically tailored to planning your live event. When not planning or attending live events, which she does all the time, Linda spends her time at the Colorado River with her family, likes to read and raise Pomeranians. Oh, I did not know that, Lydia. And is married and has 5 boys and 1 girl, all gifts. Oh, boy. So I get exhausted just reading about your life, never mind living it. And I know that you work like a crazy woman. So there was a couple of questions that I want to kind of go through with you in general, and really want to talk to you about how our people can support their business with live events. So what's the logical way for them to be able to really step into playing a bigger game, being seen more? Now, I know that live events aren't for everybody. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, anything that wasn't covered in the bio, any juicy passions that you don't normally tell people, especially on the internet, and also just tell us how you got into this business in the first place.
Well, I got into this business because when I was in college, I found that I could work weddings and banquets on the weekends and make the money that I needed, and I didn't have to schlep every day like my friends who were flipping burgers or working in dress stores or shopping malls and places like that. And it was really great, and I loved it. I loved it because the clientele was a higher end clientele, so it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I could work 1 or 2 weekends and work long, hard hours and make what I needed to make. And so from there, I got invited to work a summer program with one of our law firms in Los Angeles and run a golf tournament. And that was my 3rd year of college, and I got invited to do that. And it went so well that they snatched me up, and I became part of their marketing team, and I worked with them for 14 years. So we did everything that related to their clients. And it was fun because it was corporate, nonprofit, fundraising, client relations, client events, partner retreats, summer associate programs. So there was a whole big gamut of that industry and all the different events that you could do in that. Of course, back then we had bigger budgets, and so, but even then we learned just ways of pulling out a vision and finding a budget within to be able to make that vision happen, right? And even though we had larger budgets, we still had budgets. So everything kind of focuses around the spend. And then from there, I got invited to help someone back in 2008. So it's been a while, to do what they called a speaker fest. Now, I've never heard of a speaker fest before. And so I got invited to work on this speaker fest project, and I fell in love with the people that I met there, and I fell in love with the fact that people were offering these coaching programs and this whole entrepreneurial world. So I went back the next day. I quit my job, and Adam Urbanski, the marketing mentor, was one of the first ones that hired me in this space. And from there, most of my growth has just been from word of mouth and people experiencing myself and my team's services, and then just hiring us. So I've had the pleasure of working with Adam Urbanski and Lisa Cherney and Nancy Marmolejo and even Laura Langemeyer and Rich Gurman and Jay Facette, of course, and the list just goes on and on and on. So it's been a lot of fun, and I love it a lot. My whole family gets involved in it, so every one of the kids have had their event experience with me. And
I know you're so hard at those events.
I know. And it's just sort of it's we have our corporate aspect, but it's also very family, so.
Cool. And so I noticed you skipped over the juicy, deep, dark secret part.
What do I do that people don't know? Juicy, deep, dark secret? What is a juicy, deep, dark secret? Because really and truly, my life is events.
It's true.
I literally go from one to here I am, blah, blah, blah. We average about 3 a month, and we are dark in July, and we're dark in from the second week of December till this week. We just came off of a small retreat this past weekend. Okay. So we have July and part of August, and then about 6 weeks in the summer and about 6 weeks around the holidays, where it's pretty quiet. There might be a retreat or a fulfillment event or a small one day or a launch or a webinar or something like that we're participating in. But for the most part, the live event industry is pretty quiet during those times.
And so
juicy, deep, dark secret, I guess, would be, if you have to have a juicy, deep, dark secret, would be that when I don't have something to do and I can't sleep at night because the brain is going, I do really crazy things like listen to other people's webinars and listen to all those live streams that I haven't been able to listen to because I've been off at an event. And so yeah, my whole life is events. It's really nuts.
I was going to say, so that would be, it would either qualify as passion or obsession. Depends, kind of.
Passionately obsessed. I'm passionately obsessed.
Okay, awesome. So give me an idea of the kind of size of client range that you work with, because I think a lot of people in our community think of events as being something that you do when you're really big, when your company's really grown and you've got a huge team and so forth. So give us some ideas of the size of clients and types of events that they do. Because the other thing is most people think of events, they think of 3-day conferences and, a lot of money and so forth. So give us an idea of the range.
Okay, great. Love that question. So an event can be anything from 6 people in a room all the way up to 6,000 people in a room, right? It really just depends on what each client wants to do and where they want to get started. And I really can't stress enough about a live event. It doesn't have to be big, right? I have clients that put 16, 20 people in a room every quarter. They sell well into the 6 figures from those events, a quarter after quarter after quarter. And that's what they do. And that's all they do. They never want a 100-person event or a 200-person event. They like working very one-on-one, very intimate with their clients because of whatever it is that they're working on. But they do like to gather people together because, as you and I both know, Jannette, when people are in a room, they bond quicker, they get to know you faster. They develop the relationship, the visibility, all of that just expedites, right?
Yeah.
So you can start off just by putting, 6 to 10 people in a room. It can be for a day and a half. It can be for 3 days. I recommend that if you are starting off and you want to start off small and just get the feel for it. The other real good reason for starting off small is because you get to practice your content, and those people become like your beta group, and they can give you good feedback. They can help you, redefine what you're teaching and when you're doing the different modules, and they can have a lot of input. So I would encourage that your first group of people, if you're just starting off, try to find people that you kind of already might have a relationship with, and a couple brand new newbies, so that they can really give really good input, right, and help you build on that. But you can charge, if you're a coach that's saying like health or wellness or business, you can really charge $1,000 for a $9.97 ticket for a day and a half program, or even a 2-day program. And the cool thing is, depending on where you live, you can do it in your home. I have clients that do it in their home because they're very comfortable. They don't have a lot of children running around and dogs and pets and things. So they have an environment in their home that works for that. Otherwise, you can do the business centers. You can do meetup places. You don't have to be in hotels. If you do choose to do hotels, I recommend like the Embassy Suites, the Hyatt places, the Courtyards by Marriott, because they're nice. You usually get your breakfast. If you have to stay over, your guests get their breakfast with those hotels, and you can get meeting space for like $250 to $500 a day. Right. And you can eliminate the food and beverage minimum if you don't want to deal with that. So it makes it really affordable, and it gives people that place to work from, and you can start that small, and you don't have to have PowerPoint. You don't have to have pipe and drape. You don't have to have any of that. It really just depends on what you want to build. Now, one of my clients, Michelle Sism, the way we started out with her about 10 years ago, she did a lot of tours. So she did a lot of one-day tour stops, and that's how she built her business. And she would pick 5 cities, and she would go do 5 cities, and every week go to a different city. So she purchased a small projector and a small pop-up screen that could travel with her, so that she could always do her PowerPoint, because she was doing Facebook posting and ads at the time. And so showing social media was really important to her presentation. And so what she did is she bought that, took it with her, but she stayed at Courtyard Marriott's, and so it was like $250, $300 a day. Lunch was served for $17 a person. She could do a $297 ticket and do a one-day, put 20 or 30 people in a room for the day. And then out of that, she was selling VIP days. And she was selling $9.97 VIP days, and virtual or in person, depending on where they lived. And then from there, she would sell people into her program that got and everyone got a ticket to her live event that she was doing. So you can start doing things like that. And then I also have, so you asked the question, like what's the difference and where you can get started. Our clients do everything from 6 to 10 person programs all the way up to about 400 is our largest one that we're producing currently. So
cool. So for a lot of people, let's kind of do a range here. For a lot of people who are perhaps a coach, a single coach, or they do training, or they do something like that, and they haven't done events, they don't know much about events. And they may not think that they, are a good facilitator, or they might not have a lot of experience with that. They're just starting out. What would you tell them as far as when does it make sense to get into events, and what do you really have to know to be able to do them effectively?
Well, any time is the time to get into events, right? If you have any kind of group that you're talking to, or any kind of following that you're working with, and if you can put 6 to 10 people in a room together, then that's the time to get started. And you won't know that till you start to ask, and you'll be surprised over and over and over, surprised at how quickly they can, get people in a room. And so I would say if you are, if you have something that you're coaching on, something that you have a program that you can easily carve out, something that would take people into a 6 to 8 week kind of program, then I would say then you're ready to do at least a 1 day, if not a smaller 3 day scale, where you can bring people in, do previews and sell them into that 6 week program, 6 or 8 week program.
So 2 important pieces there. One is you got to have something to sell them. There's no point in having the event and not just be the only thing that they are paying for. Many people think of putting on events and they think they're going to make their money from the event. You don't. Typically, the money that you make from the event covers the event costs if you're doing it well. What you make your money from is what you sell them at the event, which that is a 6 to 8 week coaching program. It might be a VIP day like Michelle did. It might be a year-long program. It might be a mastermind. It might be some of your products or services. It might be consulting. So whatever you do for your business, what's the next ladder step in your product ladder of ascension is what we call it. So what problem do you solve first? And that's what you solve at the event. And then what's the next problem they have? And what do you have to sell them to solve that problem for them? I think so I would agree and disagree with you about if you can get 8 to 10 people in a room. The only thing that I would caution is if you suck at presentation skills, if you are not confident in what you know, so you need to be an expert. Now, most of us are experts, or far more experts than we give ourselves credit for, especially women. And so you do need to have expertise. Now, you don't have to be the best in the world, but you have to be a few steps ahead of your audience, so that you can shine the light down the path of where they're going and provide some value there. You need to have some presentation skills. That doesn't mean you have to be an expert speaker, but ideally you've taken some facilitation training, or you've taken some speaking training, or both, so that you don't bore the shit out of people. Because I don't know, Linda, given the number of events you've been to, I am sure there have been some ones that were very painful to sit through and listen to and be part of, because the person just sucked in their presentation skills, in the way they did the content, etc. So there's facilitator training, where we actually have one coming up in Calgary, facilitation skills, but that's part of it. Now, that said, you don't have to be a world-class trainer. So give us an example.
And that, just real quick.
Yeah.
And on that said, you can always team up with somebody. I've had a lot of clients who have, they're just nervous and they don't really know if they can facilitate. It's really more in them. They just really haven't done it right. So what you do is you team up with someone, maybe your own mentor, somebody that you know really well that's doing events, and you ask to team up for your first day with them. And then they are the guest speaker, right? So you can give them on a 1 day program, you can give them an hour slot. Or you can do a 2 hour slot and have it include the lunch, and then they can speak during that time frame. And then what that does is you get to build your program kind of around them. They're there to help you, and they can kind of give you some guidance and ask the questions for you. Jannette, tell us about this, right? And kind of keep that moving for you. So you can always do that.
That's a brilliant idea. Thanks, Linda. And like that, you could also team up with 2 or 3 experts in your field and do kind of a summit type presentation, 3 or 4 of you, and you each do a 1 or 2 hour presentation on your expertise, and have it be around a theme that serves your clients. So tell us very quickly about an example of a time where you saw someone who didn't know what they were doing or did an event poorly and it went very badly, and an example of someone who was just starting out and it was surprisingly good.
Okay, so an event that went really bad is someone who We had a client who, on the surface and everything, we saw them many places. They seemed to show up almost at everybody's event. They had booths all over the place. They were very, very visible, and they said, hey, we're going to do an event. So on my part, I was like, okay, great. We'd love to work with you. We went into contract. And then while they were good booth people, good booth sponsors, while they had a product, they had an offering, and it was all good, they didn't know how to market, and which was really shocking. And they kept saying, yeah, we're calling, or we're doing this, or we're sending this out, or no, we're not quite ready, or we have to finagle this. And so just like presenters, we get kind of like, well, I can't do a live event because I don't think I'll be good in front of people. Marketing piece of it is you also have to be comfortable and know that you can send it out to people, or that you have people that can market for you, right?
Right.
And it really, Jannette, it all comes back to what Adam Urbanski says. And Adam from the get-go has always said, just do it. Just take that first step and then build as you go. Build on it, grow on it, perfect it. And what we do a lot in this one particular client where it fell completely apart was because they kept thinking they had to get their marketing perfect. And they kept running all these tests and beta tests and stuff. And every week went by, and every week went by, and every week went by, and maybe one person signed up or two. Anyway, so then we ended up with a large hotel bill. We ended up with, event team, an AV team, and, 20 people in a room that should have been for 100. So what do you do, right? So how do you salvage that? So what you do is you go back to the hotel. This happened to be at a hotel, and we went back to the hotel and we explained the situation and told them our struggle. We got them to agree to go ahead and let us downsize the event and then recontract moving the attrition and moving the group block to a later date in the same year, at a weekend that the hotel picked. It wasn't ideally for the client, but it was a pick by the hotel because it was a weekend they were having trouble selling. So that was the trade-off. But the thing that worked out good is the client ended up then not having all this attrition and didn't have all this, that they had to deal with. And so we were able to pretty much kind of save the event. But it was crazy, and it was insane and very, very stressful. So now our conversations with clients are, where it's not only can you present, can you do the event, but how are we going to get people there? We need to be able to drive people there.
That is one of the big things, is getting people into the event. So the marketing is critical, and I know that you also help clients with that. Then being able to manage the event, because event planning is a whole science in itself, and then being the presenter at the front of the room and being able to sell. You got to be able to convert. You got to have a conversion process in your event, all of which sounds a bit daunting, but like you said, until you actually do it, then you don't learn it. So tell me an example of, and then I want you to quickly share 3 tips. Well, actually, why don't we just jump to that for time's sake? So what are 3 tips that you can share with our members on things that they need to know if they're thinking of running an event? So what are 3 things that they should watch for?
Okay. So the first thing that I think is one of the most important goes back to the good old budget, right? Knowing your numbers. So really if you're thinking of doing an event, even if it's a small event or a large scale, and you want to just take the bullet and bite. You asked me if I had a example of a client that did an event and it turned out to be amazing. We had a client who, I'll be lucky if I get 50 people in the room, and she just kept talking to everybody, and she had so much personality that before she knew it, she had 200 people signed up for her event. And that was great, because it was back to the hotel. It was like, okay, we have 200 people. We need to squeeze in this space. So it worked. So that's just an example. You never know till you start to do it and you get in there, how it's going to go. So the first thing that I would say that's first and foremost, the most important is know your numbers. Know who can help you market. Know how far your reach is. Because sometimes we think our reach is just our list, but it's really all those other connections that we have, Facebook groups that we're in, people that we have connected with, our mentors, our coaches, our personal list and who our list knows, and really sit down and look at that and be very clear with yourself that, hey, these people would help me and this person would help me, and go ahead and do the ask. I'm thinking about doing this event, and would you mail for me? Would you support me? And based on that, then you're going to have a better feeling of what's possible. And then know your numbers. Don't feel like that you have to have 2 screens, 2 projectors, pipe and drape, a big stage, a huge room, that you have to feed everybody, that you have to do all that kind of stuff. Concentrate on what you're going to teach and train and where you want to take them, and concentrate on your offer. And then find a beautiful space that, looks good, is easy to get to, priced right, and, stays within a budget that you figure out, which budget you want to work with. And then if they'll do that, if you can do those 2 things, know your numbers, figure out how you can get some support, and then just be very clear on your content and where you want to go, that's the best thing. And then from there, the world is just going to open up.
Right. Cool. I appreciate that. So know your numbers, both in terms of setting a budget and doing some projections around what you're going to earn potentially. And especially when it's your first one, it's kind of pulling numbers out of thin air or your butt or wherever you pull numbers out of. But when you work with someone who's done events for a while, again, someone like Linda and her team, or if you've got a mentor who's done events, they're going to have a better sense of what's realistic in terms of conversion numbers on sales and so forth. Don't think you're going to convert half the room, because chances are very good you won't. And whatever your projections are of the number of people that you're going to get there, you can usually count that in half at most, or at least. So be really realistic and do some projections and to know whether or not you can afford. Because, you might lose some money on it, just like any other venture in your business. And if you do it well, you might make a whole lot of money on it. One of the big things about events is it's an opportunity to generate and drive a significant chunk of cash. So, for instance, with Master Millions, with Jay Fazette, the project that I work on with him, we earn probably, I'd say, 60% of our revenue, if not 75% of the annual revenue from our one annual event. We're working on shifting that model, because that's a lot of eggs in one basket, but that is part of what I would say is you have an opportunity to make buzzing. Do you have a phone ringing, or is that me? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, with events, especially depending on what kind, you can make anything, like Lynn said, from 6 figures, even with a small group, to 7 figures, depending on where you go with the event. And you don't have to have been in the business for a long, long time. I know people who've done 6 figures on their first event out, and we are talking profit after event costs and so forth. Yeah. So one of the things is know your numbers, like she said. Second is really work on the marketing side of it as well, and work on how you're going to fill your room and how creating the support that you need for that. And then that third one is, of course, create your content and learn how to make offers. The probably biggest event killer that I've seen, and we've all been to lots, is where they struggle with their offer. And often what that comes back to is not claiming their value. So from my perspective, a lot of it is that they don't get their value. They have stuff about sales, and whether you're at the front of a room in an event, or selling one-to-one with your clients, if you don't claim your value, you are not going to earn your value. So that's part of why we're doing a training series in the second day, is a lot about that, because again, front of the room or back of the room or one-to-one with people, that's one of the biggest issues that's going to keep you from making money.
And I would say that knowing how you're going to make your offer, what you're going to make, and how you present your offer, like getting very clear and practicing the offer, and then throughout your program, making reference to when I work with someone, this is what we do. When people work with us, this is how this works. We do this. And just really dropping a lot of those seeds about, telling people when they're working with them. You can really have monotone type, almost boring presentation skills, but you're teaching really great content, so people are working and they're doing exercises and they're getting a lot of value. And so basically, your presentations skills can suck a little bit, but if your offer skills are right on it, that's what's going to count. If you have great presentation skills and you're fun and you're energetic and entertaining and they love you and love you and love you, you're going to get sales. But I've seen people get up there and totally bomb that piece. Yeah. And then what happens is they're like, whoa, bring back the fun girl. What happened? Yeah, exactly. What's this all about? I can't resonate with this. Yeah. So I would say the sales piece, really, if you're going to make an offer, have that nailed down. You can kind of make excuses for the other, I don't know, whatever, I'm a little off today, so let's do this exercise or whatever, right? Yeah.
So who, give us we got to wrap up here quickly, but give us an example of who, if people wanted to go and watch someone who's really good at it or learn how to do, to put on events and so forth, who would you recommend that they watch or go learn from?
As far as in our industry, who's doing the best?
Yeah, well, who's really good at making offers and really good at who's crushing events?
Okay, so Lisa Sasevich is really crushing the larger audience. She has her invisible sales technique program that she does. Watch that, look at that, because she's not only sets up how the event goes, but she sets up how your sales conversation goes. She's really awesome to listen to. Jay, of course, is, I think, the structure of his events and how he has his events flow from one thing to another work very, very well for people to look at. Dr. Venus Opal Reese is someone who, now she crushes it on the small scale. She does small programs, small events. She does smaller retreats. She does big launches, like she has product launches that sell into smaller intimate retreats. And those retreats are pulling 300, 500,000 every time she does one. So she's someone to kind of tap into for what she's doing in that space.
Her name one more time, Dr. Venus.
Dr. Venus Opal Reese.
Okay.
Yeah. Her focus is creating Black millionaire women. Is kind of her big modality or her big audience. But the way that she does it can certainly be used for anyone in any coaching system, and anything you're coaching and teaching on. She's just perfected how to do. Just real quickly, she has a sales team that makes cold calls. She has webinars that she does. She has an 8-week course that people buy into. All roads lead to the intimate live events. And the intimate live events are 20, 24 people in her home. It's a high ticket sale, so they're paying about $5,000 to $10,000 depending on when they buy, to be in the home. And then from there, she sells into her year-long coaching program. Right. So it's high ticket sales and conversions, and she's gotten that. She does that really well. Michelle Sisson does that really well. There's a ton of people, really and truly, that do it very well.
Right. There's a lot of speaker trainers. One of the ones that I really enjoy, just from a style point of view, is Kristen Thompson. Kristen has a little process and methodology that she teaches you around how to remember your offer and do your offer. That's quite lovely and fun. And I just love her sassiness. She's very bodacious. And I've taken Callan and Justin's Luminary Trading. They've got 3, monetize and magnetize, monetize, and Mesmerize, whatever. They've got three levels. Those courses were good for people who are starting out, and their monetized course is good for really understanding offer and conversion more so. It's a bit of a longer process and a longer commitment. So there are lots of opportunities for you to, and there's no end of speakers who do speaker training and so forth. In Calgary, there's Jackie McClenahan. Jane Powers really is powerful at creating good converting speaking and so forth. So there's lots of people who I'd highly recommend, and a lot of it is like Linda, get up in the middle of the night and watch other people's webinars. Deconstruct how they do them. And with Zoom and other technology, you can get started with little webinars online and start practicing that way. Move to a one day, then start to, put on the bigger events. And just last question, because I know we're running over here a little bit. At what point, and I know you're going to say right from the beginning, but realistically, at what point do you hire an event planning company?
Well, it's always nice if you can hire an event planning company right when you're starting to think about doing it, so that a really strong foundation can be laid. But I would say before you sign your contract, like you've picked your date, you know kind of what you're going to be doing, you want to teach and train on, you have a general idea of the time frame that you want to do it. I would encourage before anyone signs a contract that they have somebody do contract review. I have where I just do contract review for people sometimes that's all they need, especially if they're doing a smaller event. They just need someone to look that over and make sure they're not getting in over their head and going to be left with something that's going to really cause them an issue or a problem. Yeah. But certainly I think once if you're into the marketing and you've got your marketing out and you're starting to get sales and you're starting to look at, what you need on site and how the event is going to flow and what else you might need, then that would be the point to really step in and ask somebody to come aboard.
Okay. So how do people find out more about you and your services? Where do they go?
They can go to eventsbybluediamond.com, and there's no E in the blue. It's eventsbybluediamond.com. They can also email me at lindacainoffice@gmail.com, or they can call me at 626-252-2834.
All right. Awesome. And of course, you're in our Bodacity Action Hero.
Yep. They can ping me here.
Book, so they can IM you there as well. And if they have additional questions, can they post them in the right under this video? And will you
yes, please
back over the next couple of days and answer those questions? Because sometimes people are at work and so forth and they don't log on live while we're here. Oh wait, Michelle is here. So her question was Jay Fizette. Yes. From Calgary. He's someone that we've done a lot of work with together. And is there, if they have questions, they can put it into the chat and you'll go in and answer that for them, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be in there and watch carefully. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda, for being here and for sharing yourself and your experience and your time with us. And I know that I love when people are really passionate about what they do because it inspires others to make the leap, which is what we're all about, is creating that freedom lifestyle by creating your freedom business. And one of the components of a freedom business is being able to do events so that you can travel to other places and be on the beach in Mexico and do an event while you're there and generate some revenue, because events are one of the things that's transportable. So I highly encourage any of you who are thinking about creating some kind of more mobility in your business that you really think about events as a part of that solution to help you make the leap. Yep. So thanks for being here, Linda, and helping our members make the leap. Yeah. Have a wonderful rest of your day. What event are you at now? Oh, no, you look like you're at home.
I'm at home. I got my vision board behind me, and I'm all ready to go.
Excellent. All right. Have a great week, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.